Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Stickle, and I'm also joined by my colleagues Jim Patterson and Paul Estabrooks. Jim and Paul will be today's presenters and will discuss today's topic of how to extend Microsoft Teams into a collaborative project, portfolio, and work management solution. And as always, I hope that today's presentation grants you some insight into the world of project and portfolio management and gets you excited for the new developments happening within the industry and here at OnePlan. Remember, if you'd like access to any of these slides or have any questions, feel free to reach out to contact us at oneplan.ai, and we'd be more than happy to assist you. Thank you again, and I'll now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thank you, Robert. Appreciate the introduction and welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us today. This is a widely popular topic in the growth and the use of Microsoft Teams, which is now the fastest adopted technology by Microsoft in the history of the company. And how to leverage that best in the areas of collaborative project, portfolio, and work management is something that a lot of our customers and a lot of the folks that we talk to are very interested in leveraging it for those capabilities. So with that, let's begin. So part of the reason that we're here talking about this subject today is that we really focus on project and portfolio management. Though we have multiple Microsoft Gold certifications, we have a particular emphasis in that area. And demonstrating that is we've once again been named Microsoft's Project and Portfolio Management Global Partner of the Year here in 2021. We've won that multiple times, and as well as being their Partner of the Year finalist this year in Power Apps and Power Automate, which relate very well to the topic of what we're talking about here today. So not only are we very well versed in the Microsoft technologies, we're also well versed in project and portfolio management disciplines, and even have certification with Scaled Agile Inc. as a Scaled Agile partner as well for folks that need to go down the Agile route, and as we'll talk about more hybrid routes as they go through their journeys in portfolio management. We don't just do work on tools. We help organizations achieve more business agility and do transformation in their organization by focusing on all the dimensions, the people, process, and the technology. And we really have the expertise and the experience internally to help customers leverage the Microsoft Cloud and get the most out of those investments in these areas. So with that, let's talk about Microsoft Teams. What is it designed to be? It's really designed to be a hub for teamwork in Microsoft 365. It has a lot of different capabilities. A lot of us are used to it from the chatting capabilities and the posts that you can put in there. We leverage it for meetings and video meetings or calls so that we can communicate with one another both internally and externally. We use it for content management and the ability to capture content and files and other related content that help us in the context of the teams that we're members of. And we also have the ability to have apps and workflows in here to allow us to provide capabilities and access to data from within this central hub, so that Teams end up being a focal point and bringing a lot of different things together without us bopping around to different browsers and application UIs and different windows all the time. It really brings this stuff together and makes it a more cohesive user experience and a more productive user experience, and minimizes the things like task switching and the productivities that's lost by going to different venues or different views. So what Teams can do for your business, it can really transform your workplace collaboration overall. It can help you streamline the business processes and become more effective and more efficient. It can connect everyone on a single platform, whether it be on your PC, your tablet, or your other mobile devices or your phone. And probably even more important than all of that, because it's provided via the Microsoft Cloud, with it, by default, you get enterprise-grade security and compliance for all of the capabilities that you're working with within this realm or in this venue. So imagine a world where you can integrate all your business processes and your line of business apps, where you can automate routine tasks, where you can access partner or third-party apps that you already use and love and bring those into the fold within this hub, be able to communicate and collaborate with each other internally and also with external parties and partners that you work with or customers, and do this all in a single hub. Now, this is not just an imagined future thing. This stuff is all here, and I think we're in the process now in the marketplace of customers getting used to innovative ways that they can use this hub and use this technology to become more effective on a lot of different fronts and a lot of different dimensions of the way they do business. Now, we're here to talk about project and portfolio management and overall work management. And when you look into the apps that are available within Teams, within the App Store for that, you'll find that there are many apps already available for managing work. You know, you look at some of the things in here like SharePoint and lists and tasks by Planner and To Do, Project, which is the project for the web, Azure DevOps and Azure Boards, etc. These are things that allow you to manage work and tasks and projects individually. And by the way, this list is growing. It seems almost on a weekly basis, they're adding more capabilities and more tools, both Microsoft and third party here. But this may not be enough for a lot of people. When you're working on individual projects, maybe. But as you get through, what else is needed in Teams is really true portfolio management and a portfolio management platform that can be leveraged from within Teams. And that's going to be part of what we're talking about here today, and maybe even the focus point. Because the key is the success about the organization is not about delivering any one individual project or initiative. It's about be able to deliver the collection of things, making sure that we're working on the right things to deliver towards the strategies, even manage strategies and align our work with those strategies, and be able to bring those things into the fold and deliver them all successfully, and making sure we're doing it within the parameters that we need, with delivering the value that we want to deliver, making sure that it's within the budgets that we have, and also being able to say, do we have the resources and the skill sets internally to make these things happen? So the key is to be able to deliver this, but all within the context of that simple solidifying and centralizing hub known as Microsoft Teams. Now, when we talk about portfolio management, it's transforming as we speak. You know, people are making a journey, and more agile transformations are going on in our organizations today as part of an overall business transformation and agile transformation effort. Now, on the right-hand side in the green, we illustrate more traditional project and portfolio management that we're used to, that leverage maybe more waterfall and traditional governance methods. And many folks are still using those individually, and that's fine. And we need to be able to address those folks. Now, a lot of folks are trying to transform into more agile organizations, and they may be trying to get all the way over to that dark blue on the left, where they're doing everything in an agile fashion and using more agile portfolio management or lean portfolio management capabilities. And the idea there would be to manage these things in a more scaled, agile perspective. But whether it be on that journey, which can take years, or maybe even the realization by many organizations, and we find that roughly 80% of the people we talk to end up or are going to stay in what we call the adaptive, or what the analysts are calling, like Gartner, the adaptive portfolio management realm, where they have a combination of methodologies in Agile and Waterfall, a combination of execution tools and governance concepts, but be able to have to present those and manage those within the context of an overall, what they call adaptive portfolio management context, which is more of a hybrid. Now, the challenge there is, as you're working with different methodologies and different tool sets, as illustrated at the bottom part of this graphic, is that leadership needs to see, and we need to manage and visualize these things in a context that makes sense in a consistent fashion. And sometimes it's, there's agile metrics down at the execution and team level that aren't necessarily of interest to people at the executive levels that are steering the ship for the entire company. They're looking at more traditional business metrics. And be able to consolidate all this information, roll it up, and provide views up through different programs or strategies or strategic themes or portfolios is something that has to happen, and without having it to be a manual exercise of mashing up all this data and translating it and kind of transforming it and morphing it into something that's digestible by the audience that needs that information. We need to automate this process as much as we can. Here's where OnePlan comes in. OnePlan provides a solution, and we're going to talk about it today as a solution within Teams that can take you all the way down from the strategic level or the strategic execution, all the way from aligning those strategies to the individual projects and initiatives that you have, and possibly using different methodologies or different tool sets at the execution level, all feeding into that portfolio. Down below, we have a very Microsoft-centric view of the new project for the web, the traditional Microsoft Project Professional on the desktop, or Azure DevOps for more agile projects. But this could also include things like Jira for agile as well. Now, being able to bring these things together and provide capabilities right within teams for things like portfolio visibility and management, whether in traditional list views, or maybe portfolios managed in more agile board or Kanban type of fashions, or maybe even roadmaps for those product-oriented or initiative-oriented type of folks that need to see these things in overall roadmap views. Be able to do resource capacity planning, financial planning in detail, where people need cost categories in CapEx and OpEx. A lot of these detailed work management tools that I showed at the outset that are available in Teams don't go to this level in providing that portfolio level management of capability from a portfolio, resource, and financial perspective. And then on the execution level, being able to deliver, regardless of the tool sets you're using, whether they be waterfall-oriented tools or agile-oriented tools, to be able to provide those and individual status reports for projects as a natural output of this process is something that we have to deliver in order to be fully capable within the Teams context. And even team members, folks that are participants in projects, maybe not the ones that are managing at that portfolio level, but maybe providing status or time reporting on the things that they are working on and contribute that back to the organization or into your project management or your Scrum Master. And having insights as an individual contributor into what requires my attention, what's falling off track, what communications on my projects have come through recently. Those types of things are things that we can provide all through the context of Teams. Now, on top of that, adding strategic portfolio management on top of all of this gives us the ability, in this case, we're showing objectives and key results type of approach, where those objectives or strategies can be managed in their execution and use this to plan how we execute on that strategy and the tangible key results that we have that we can actually track progress physically towards achieving those objectives. And even better, we can then down below align those strategies to the projects that we're working on in our project portfolio, such that we make sure that we're working on the right things and understand what we're doing at that level to support the achievement of those strategies up above. Once again, all in the context of an overall work management solution. And be able to do that via productized connectors or integrations, bringing those agile software development tools and your financial ERP or HR data or your service management data, et cetera, into the fold, into those portfolios, is really a way to bring that data together into a solution like OnePlan, and then render that and access that information from within Microsoft Teams. Now, OnePlan is designed and built for the Microsoft Cloud. And beyond the fact that it's designed for the Microsoft Cloud and authenticates via your Azure Active Directory, so you don't have separate authentication and all that type of thing to get into and use the solution, it allows you to consume it in ways that are flexible within where you live and where you spend the most time within your environment. Now, we're going to focus on Teams today, but you can actually consume a OnePlan via Power Apps, and there's an accelerator that plugs that in very nicely. We can do it within Dynamics. We can do it right within Azure DevOps itself. Or, as is probably most popular, because so many people are using Teams today, is accessing this information right from within Microsoft Teams. The key is to stay productive and stay working in the tools that you work in every day, but access the capabilities and the power of what's in OnePlan within the context of these tools. In this case, we're talking about Teams. So the things that we can provide via Teams are access to that strategic plan and the OKRs, or whatever structure of how you like to manage a strategic execution or strategic portfolio. Be able to have portfolios for your projects and initiatives that give you more portfolio timeline or traditional views of your portfolio. And not only that, but via the connecting strategy that we have, is be able to say the details that support those portfolio items in your portfolio could be coming from a variety of sources. It could be coming from project on the desktop. It could be coming from Jira. It could be coming from project for the web, Azure DevOps, Office 365 Planner, all different types of sources that can feed into this to deliver more strategic value and bring together these disparate sources into one common venue. On top of that, be able to do things like prioritization and figure out what things we should be working on and factor in our alignment to our strategies as part of that decision matrix, and maybe have scoring models in here that calculate and tell us which project maybe we should be thinking about doing more. Being able to look at the portfolio boards, if we take more agile approaches to this and do things like program increment planning to be able to align these things with the different teams and the different strategies and the different product areas that we have and be able to work on them within those different program increments or releases. And roadmaps, as we talked about earlier on. Portfolio hierarchy, so that we can actually build hierarchies to structure the way we look at the world, whether it be more traditional portfolio down to programs, down to projects, or maybe something more agile where we're going down from portfolios down through different value streams and agile release trains, et cetera, and be able to build those as we see fit. Resource capacity planning, a consistent way to do that regardless of whether or not we're using different tool sets or methodologies. Being able to do resource negotiations between project and functional resource managers. Resource scheduling down at the task level so we can see on different task elements, how are we over and under allocated across all the projects and work that people are on. Being able to do detailed financials and track detailed financial categories and categorize them by CapEx and OpEx, and possibly look at financial portfolio information and see how we're all tracking. Financial what ifs, so that we can actually determine what's the best optimum portfolio given our financial constraints. The key here is that be able to work the way you want in the execution tools you want, but provide a consistent portfolio of information on an automated basis such that you're not manually rolling that stuff up, mashing that stuff up, and morphing that data into consumable information and decision support data. Now, the team collaboration and where Teams comes in handy and the ability to do this is that we have built-in integration with Microsoft Teams and leverage its strengths from the collaboration perspective and from the content management capabilities, as well as the portfolio management and work execution pieces that we bring to the party. Now, reporting, which is part of the payoff for why we do solutions like this in the first place, can also be accessed from within Teams. And we leverage native feeds from Power BI to report packs that you get out of the box, though it can be modified and tweaked for your own personal needs, to be able to provide that capability in a very easy and seamless fashion within the context of your overall portfolio management solution within Teams. Now, on top of that, OnePlan has been designed such that not only can it be accessed from within Teams, but it can actually auto-create teams for you each time a new project is created. If you want a team site to be created with the posts and the files and content management and the OnePlan access and possibly notebooks and things like that that you have around that, those can be created automatically with the team members from your project team already done. So you don't have to create that team separately. It can all be part of just initiating the project within OnePlan within the context of Teams. Also, just be aware that this is not some off to the side third-party thing. It is third-party, but it is a Microsoft co-sell product that is authorized as a Teams app by Microsoft. Now, when you access this via Teams, you can actually put it on the left navigation rail, meaning that you can go to the App Store like you see here, access it and install it onto that left navigation rail. So it's an icon that's ready there to go all the time, so you can just launch OnePlan right from within Teams. That's nice when you have a general context, when you just say, get me into the OnePlan app. I'm not looking at one specific team necessarily, but I want to get into the broader capabilities across multiple projects and multiple teams and get easy access to the OnePlan capabilities. Now, it can also be accessed and enabled within individual teams. So those of you that are familiar with Teams and you go to the add a tab plus sign in the upper part of the menu, it can then open that up and you'll notice that OnePlan is available as an app to be available to be added into Teams. Now you do have to have, like any other app that's in there, you have to be properly licensed for it to add it, but be able to access it in there and have it to be a tab right within your team and get right to the project and portfolio management information that's specific to this particular project or this particular team is very nice capability, but it provides more focused access to that right within here. And as you notice, it's within the context of an individual team. On top of that, OnePlan provides a lot of different solution types and solution templates to get you started. You can start with just strategic portfolio management if you want. You can maybe have a focus on structured agile portfolio management with a scaled agile context. or maybe an adaptive portfolio management, which is more a combination of traditional and agile portfolio management in there. Or some of you may be professional services organizations that need a slant on this that is more geared towards professional services, customer-facing type of projects. These are things that we have that are ready to go. You don't start from scratch on these things, and they're all built and pre-built in a context here that you can then further incrementally configure to meet your own specific needs within these different solution areas. Plus, there are options for even more simple collaborative project management and portfolio management use cases right within Teams. And those are available to us from as well, if the need for you that you have today isn't this more robust, all-encompassing portfolio management solution. It's as easy as selecting a pre-built template. When you go in and you go to establish these things, we have templates available for all these different types of areas. And it's just a matter of starting there. And there's a lot of configuration already pre-done for you that all you really need to do is tailor it a bit for what it is that you'd like to do and the ways that you name things in your nomenclature, and maybe model a little bit more for your business process. So in that regard, if you think about Teams being a hub and OnePlan being a common place to do all of your portfolio management, bringing together all the work execution tools, it's really about one interface, one experience, one plan. And OnePlan is the tool that brings that together for you, all within the context of Teams and leveraging the unifying experience that Teams provides overall. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Paul Estabrooks, who's going to give you a demonstration of these things in action.
Perfect. I'm going to walk you through a lot of what Jim just covered in that slide deck, and give you sort of a little bit of this to see this in live and in action. So as you can see here, I'm in a Teams environment. I'm in one of our PMO Teams locations here. So I have a team site devoted to a PMO. This happens to be the adaptive PPM scenario that we're going to talk about today, which is kind of that middle scenario of those three circles that Jim showed on a slide earlier. I'll dive into some of the other ones a little bit later, but I will draw your attention to this just quickly. As you can see, we are supporting in this single environment a multitude of different scenarios. And so if you have purpose-built PMOs in your organization that govern themselves or want to manage their world in a specific way because they're agile, because they're new product development or they're PSA or something else, it's not a single solution here. There is a multitude of them here so that they can set up their own environment, their own OnePlan instance, and govern themselves accordingly here in Teams. We're not limited to a single install that everyone must follow. We have 5 or 6 here in this demo environment right now. So this is the adaptive one. I'm going to walk you through a lot of what Jim talked about just so you can see it come to life. I'm going to just shrink that left nav for just a minute just to give myself some more real estate. It starts here with this home page. So we've landed in here, we're in our PMO site, and we have this home page where we can quickly jump to plans that we use frequently. We can look at some conversations, or we can dive into the insights component in the top left that helps us understand compliance issues, outstanding items, things that are late, and so forth. So I, as a user, in this case Daniel, I have some things I need to attend to. And this is built for each individual by role. What are the kinds of things that you need to be aware of that you need to update or get on top of or correct? So very quickly, drawing from all of that information. So our new insights module is here, and we continue to add to this capability as we go forward. Jim talked about a few things, so I'm going to sort of work my way down. This idea that we can have ideation in here. You could do this right inside OnePlan. There are also new apps from Microsoft in Teams that we can tie into. So incorporating that Teams experience to do your capture of new ideas. So one option will be to do that right here in OnePlan itself, or expose it through a Teams app, and I may show that a little bit later. So we have ideation here as well. Jim spent some time on this, and I'd like to do the same. This is a common scenario, and doing this in Teams is a very popular approach. Is in this section, I'm articulating the strategy for the organization. What are our objectives? And underneath that, what are the key results that we're going to measure to confirm that we've achieved an objective? And we can prioritize these, as you see here. We can status them here. We can report on them. I'll show that a little bit later in the dashboarding capability. But this is where that conversation begins. Teams is a very useful vehicle for this. And one of our other instances I'll show a little bit later is solely focused on this capability. Because executives and organizations using Teams, this is where they want to go to articulate the objectives for the upcoming planning cycle or business cycle or year, fiscal year, if you will. And then what are the things they're going to measure to accomplish that? And you'll see in a minute that we can then take those key results and objectives and link them to projects in the portfolio so that we can have that tight linkage between our objectives and our key results and our project execution, linking strategy to execution. It starts by articulating the strategy, and that's embedded here within OnePlan, here in the Teams interface. Now we'll jump to the portfolio. We'll spend a bunch of time here. You can see Jim talked about some of these views, and I'll sort of expand some of these and walk through them quickly. I have my portfolio. I can break that down to my programs. And underneath that, we have projects and epics. We're supporting in this adaptive world the use of both agile tools like Jira and DevOps. You'll see that both their logos are here, as well as a variety of scheduling tools. So very quickly, we are engaging the audience from an execution perspective with their tool of choice to function the way they need to. And you'll see some of these projects have multiple tools in play. There's one at the top here. It has a team site. I'm going to show that a little later. It's in Project Professional, and it's also in DevOps. So it is a hybrid project that's doing some of its work in a backlog or a DevOps type of model, but most of it in a waterfall. And it has a team site for team and project collaboration. And as you go down that list, some projects only have a team site. Some are in Jira. Some are in Project for the Web, and on down. This one's in Planner. So we are supporting all of these different tools and consolidating them here so that we can do things like status reporting, budget tracking, resource management in a common language, in a common structure, regardless of how that team needs and wants to organize and the tools they want to use to manage and execute on their initiative or their project. All of that is here. If I dive into one of these projects and go into a little bit more detail, you will see, we'll start at the beginning of the story. You will see we have governance structures here so that we can provide that stage gating and that structure around how a project moves through your organization, configurable to be your language and your steps. And then the other information that we might want to capture. And here you can see we have associated this project with one of those objectives that was in the strategy piece I showed earlier. So this project is linked to the improved customer excellence, and more importantly, it's linked to these specific key results. So the completion and execution of this project will have a meaningful impact on those key results, and accomplishing those key results allows us to say we've met the objective. So that is that linkage all the way through. And we can report on that, we can sort, filter, group around that. All those capabilities are there because we've associated that right here. Lots of other information that we can capture, typical things that we see clients looking for, business case type language, financials, where are we today, what was our expectation, and then prioritization. How does this project align with our priorities and our objectives as an organization, what we care about? That may have started up here in intake and then been brought through to here, or it may have been developed here as part of the business case. Every organization sort of creates their own path through this and how they want to leverage these tools. Next up, just sort of moving through this, is the financials. So in this case, I want to capture the budget for this particular project. I'm just going to go to none here just to give myself some more real estate. And now I'm capturing my budget, both in terms of labor costs potentially, and then other costs that I've identified, again, fully configurable, and I'm aligning my budget to the months in which this project will occur. You can see the gray out is telling me, according to the schedule or according to the anticipated start date that we've already captured elsewhere, there is no project activity in these months. So by rights, there really shouldn't be expenditures in those months. So the budget should line up to the months where the project is active. I could define all kinds of other information here that I may want to capture. Once I'm in flight, we can flip from budget to start doing forecasts. We can start to look at where is the money actually occurring. Incidentally, we're now doing some work earlier than the project was originally expected to, and we're capturing our forecast as we move forward. Finally, whether that's through entry here or potentially through integration, we can start to capture actuals against this project. What's really occurring? Very common requirement is to then link this to a financial system in the back end and bring those actuals forward. But for a PM, here in teams working on this project, they can perform budgeting and create their budget. They can forecast on a monthly, weekly, quarterly basis as necessary, and they can view their actuals and start to compare. You could compare, actuals to forecast or to budget and so forth, and see what's going on in our project and where are things occurring. Next up is the resource plan. It's one of the most popular components of functionality that takes that work management story and all the myriad of tools that Jim showed in an earlier slide and sort of brings it forward to do the things that an organization wants to do at an enterprise level. It's the ability to come in here and articulate what are the roles and/or people that we need on this project. And as you can see here, I'm capturing their work. I'm using hours. I could flip that to percentage or FTE, whatever, every organization sort of treats that differently. And how much do I need of each resource in a month? This committed screen, think about this as a demand or a request. This is what we anticipate we're going to need. We're not worried about a detailed schedule right now. We're worried about a higher level sort of projection of resourcing requirements. And very quickly, we could see we're comparing to capacity in the background. So we know that Gavin in this particular month is over allocated. There's a considerable overage there. And we can dig into, and I'll show in a minute where we go to get some of that information. But we're trying to articulate, what do I need? And potentially that's, as you see right below it, the developer role. Well, we know we need this developer in these tasks with a PM up top. And now I want to be able to go, and you can see the blue dot. These are proposed roles. And a little while later, I'll go into the resource plan and we'll look at how we fulfill on that capability or that requirement to satisfy this project's requirements along with all of the others. So we're supporting detailed resource planning here within teams across all of those different scheduling tools. Right now, I don't care what tool you're going to use to execute. I want to know what your resource demand is. So if you want to then execute using Planner or DevOps, and you're really asking for resourcing by sprint, so be it. We have that information, we can consolidate it, and we can act on it. In this particular project, this one's connected to Project Professional. So I'm going to just jump to my schedule here quickly. And you'll see this is the project. It's connected to Project Professional. So I've drawn this data in, but I have access to the whole schedule here to see all the things that's going on, what's completed, who's working on what, where are we, all of the data that I would need to know as a PM. I'll go and do my resource scheduling and my detailed work in Project Pro and draw that data back here so that it can flow through for budget purposes and actuals and or for resourcing and things and other things and the status report itself. This project is also linked to DevOps because some of the tasks in here are in a backlog and we're managing them here. So we're drawing data in this case from DevOps so that we can see what's going on in this part of the project and how these things are progressing, or in this case not, and when they're expected to be done. So we've drawn in additional data for the team to look at and understand what's going on. This project is connected to those systems. I want to show you another one while I'm here. Jump out to my program, to this cleverly named one called the work plan. Again, similar data, similar information. In this one, we're using the work plan that's built within OnePlan itself. So if I just go and quickly look at the schedule, this particular schedule was created right here. It is managed here. We haven't connected it to anything. So we've created tasks, we've added new tasks along the way. But what we've also done in this interface, popular requests from clients, if I scroll down, you'll see embedded in this schedule are the backlog items and where they occur, as well as this here is an issue. That's from the issues list right here. It is appearing in this schedule so that as a project manager, not only can I see my tasks in a single view, but risks, issues, backlog items, changes, other items that affect this schedule are now being drawn forward into a singular view. If I go to my backlog, I can look at all my backlog items. I'm just going to move this out of the way for a second. And I can come in and I can actually show my sprints. And I can look at all my items in here, and I can drag and drop items into a sprint and add them to the sprint. Then if I click on that, these are the items that are in sprint 8. So we've enabled some sprint planning in here embedded within this work plan so that we can organize ourselves and create this capability and create this information, report on it, manage our resources accordingly within the work plan. So you can use Project Pro, you can use DevOps to do this. But let's say you didn't have DevOps, but you still want to be able to do some sprint planning. You're moving more in that direction, you're shifting left. Here's some great capability for you to start to do that. I mentioned the resource planning, and so I want to circle back to sort of how this story ends on the other side. We looked at how resources and demand is captured at the project level. Some other capability that we've put in here is now the ability to go and look at my resourcing requirements and see here by project. I'll just pick on that same project. These are the requirements that we have and this idea of how I might go about fulfilling it. So I need to be able to see that there's a required and remaining work. So we want to be able to fill that request. I'll pick on this one. I can go look at this. I can find the best match for the developer role. Maybe I want to do this. I'm going to replace, oh, sorry, missed a step. Go here, replace the resource. I can either replace the entire role or I can fulfill. And by fulfilling, I've added this person in here and I could say, we have them available for 8 hours that month. And you'll see there's still just a small amount. I just wanted to demo this. There's still an outstanding requirement to complete. There's still another, call it 3 hours that need to be completed by a developer, but Woo was only available for 8 because I, as the resource manager, made that decision. So I want to give them maybe 30 hours here, and you can see there's still a lot left to fill, but I'm starting that fulfillment. It enables us the ability now to go down to the list and pick a second developer who may also be a part of that project to fulfill on the entire requirement. This is a common request we see from organizations all the time. How do I fulfill a role by parceling out the work because I don't have a single individual available typically to fulfill the role in its entirety, and I want to be able to split the work up. So you tell me you need a developer, I'm going to tell you who you can have and what that allocation looks like by resource. Wanted to highlight that because this is where that data goes from when you create the resource plan in the project to the resource managers to look at and say, all right, how are we going to fulfill on those upcoming requests? And then as things evolve and things change, how are we going to continually adjust because something got delayed or something required more time? What is the rolling impact? And then as we fulfill future requirements. We're managing against capacity by capturing all the information, again, regardless of which tool you're using to execute the project at the other end. Close on a couple of things. One is the dashboarding in here, so I'm going to fire up Power BI quickly. In the background, we've created a large set of reports that are good start kits, reporting packs to go and do reporting against all this information. So there's an idea dashboard. I mentioned reports related to the objectives, so my objectives and key results. I come in here and do reporting against that. I may want to dive into the portfolio. I may want to get into, down the road here, some of that resourcing, my resource dashboard. Where are we in terms of resource usage? Likewise with financials. So a myriad of different reports here that are available to take and run with and make your own and dive deeper and deeper into this data using the power of Power BI. Before I close, show a couple of things. I mentioned that support customer using mobile has its own OnePlan environment. So I'm going to quickly jump into it. You can see here, now embedded into here, this is where you would do the typical file storage and so forth. Notice now, there's no left navigation with all the other things. This is zoomed in, if you will, to simply to the details page I showed earlier, the financials page, the resource plan, and the work plan in the various forms that it might be and whatever it's connected to. So for the project team, this is their world. They may not go to the other environment. They may come here. They can then do posts about this project, files, all kinds of other apps and components that team supports that help the project team work together and collaborate. But embedded within it is a view of the schedule and all the other information. I also wanted to highlight some other PMOs that we have supported here. So if I jump into my portfolio in this agile world, you'll see a different configuration, one that includes PI planning, team definitions, strategic themes, other components here that take a scaled agile view of the world, where we can create a different look and feel to support a very different use case that this particular PMO needs. And I mentioned the strategic as well. You'll see a third configuration, all supported within one Teams environment. Here, we're simply looking at the different key results and objectives, and there they are. Similar ones we have elsewhere, but this one, none of the other functionalities here. This is purpose-built and focused on strategic portfolio management itself. So we support all those different templates that Jim said, all of them actually within a single Teams environment if necessary, if that's the implementation that's required, or both the PMO view as well as the project view in the same Teams environment to support both the end users and the information that they need to do their jobs and to collaborate as a team, but also to you as a PMO and how you want to govern your projects, do resource planning, budget tracking, and all the aggregate reporting around the portfolio. And with that, Jim, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for the comprehensive walkthrough. Let me get back the screen here real quick and let me know when you can see.
I can see it.
All right, well, let's summarize and talk about some potential next steps you can take. So, Microsoft Teams is a powerful hub for collaboration. There are many Teams apps, as we said, for work management individually, but really bringing the power of flexible portfolio management capabilities to Teams is something that OnePlan does particularly well. OnePlan provides a variety of solution templates for different customer needs, and as Paul said, you can even enable those all within the same Teams environment. It can be implemented in Teams as a robust portfolio management solution going into all the areas that Paul showed, or perhaps just the simple collaboration and project work and scheduling is all you need. It can be implemented in that fashion for your organization as well. Now, OnePlan also integrates with other work execution tools, as Paul demonstrated in that capability on connecting. So it gives us the ability not only to use different tools, but to support a variety of methodologies like waterfall, agile, and hybrids. So the flexibility here is key. It can be deployed in a manner that best fits the way you'd like to do business. We do webinars like this all the time. Next week, in this theme, we're going to basically show how we can use these capabilities right within Azure DevOps to manage this type of work. We can actually then talk about doing it within the Power Platform on September 23rd. And there's a great accelerator solution that helps you leverage the power of the Power Platform on top of everything you've seen today. And then for those folks that are doing all their work still in SharePoint Online, this stuff can be manifested and it can be consumed from within SharePoint. So some exciting things to look at on some ideas on how you can leverage these things within these different user environments. Now, you can try OnePlan today. You go out to AppSource on Microsoft, and there's an adaptive portfolio management and other templates that are out there, as we talked about, and you can actually enable those things and try them on a trial basis. And we're happy to chaperone you and support you on this so that you get the maximum value out of your trial and hopefully see that this is a powerful solution that would be a good candidate for you to enable within your organizations. Now, we do have a special offer. If you're trying to wonder, what it's going to take to get from point A to point B and leverage some of these capabilities, we do offer a free roadmap workshop that we can do a view of what you're currently doing today. We can assess some current requirements and what desired future state things or gaps you'd like to fill. We can determine how you'd like to implement and migrate to a new solution, and then give you an idea of what an implementation roadmap for best adoption success might look like and what that might cost. And you may already own a bunch of the licensing that you would need to do this. So it may just be an incremental investment to make that happen. So next steps, feel free to access one of our trials. The roadmap workshop, please, we'd love to help you with that. And Paul gave a pretty generalized demonstration. It was broad and covered a lot of the capabilities, but if you want a more personalized one-on-one demo that specifically addresses your use cases and your requirements and the challenges that you have, we're happy to schedule that with you. You can reach out to us at contact@oneplan.ai for that, or check more about us at oneplan.ai. So with that, I'd like to thank you for investing some of your valuable time and day with us today. At OnePlan, we are invested in success, and that really does mean invested in your success. Feel free to reach out to us at the general contact number. You will be getting a copy of these slides, but if you'd like to reach out to myself or Paul individually, please feel free to do so. We really would love to engage with you. Have a great day, and thank you for your attendance.